What is going on, everybody? Jason and John, we are back. We are going to do a clip show today. Don't you worry. It's going to be fun. John's going to get lost with an annoying housekeeper. And yeah, that's what we're going to do today, guys. How's everybody doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I am well, John. I am well. So we had our 10-year anniversary show on the Three Geeks yesterday, and it was a lot of fun. So the reason we picked the 10th is because I have a friend that I really wanted to be on the show with us, and he gave us his schedule. He said, I'm free on the 10th and the 17th. So I'm like, all right, we're going to do it on the 10th. That way that friend is available. And then the day before we go live, that friend calls me and goes, I can't make it. And
but at least that friend called you in advance and let you know that they weren't going to be there, and they compromised by sending in a video.
Well, that friend went from number 1 on my list to number 3 on my top 5 moments from Three Geeks podcast. So, what's going on, buddy? How you doing? Having a good day?
No, wait. It's fine. Today's fine. But look. I want to just point out real quickly that I know I have been MIA from being on 3 Geeks podcast. I know that I've been MIA for a while. It's just when you moved the recording of it to Saturday nights at 7, that messed everything up for me.
No, that's fair, man. That's fair. And I mean, even setting something ahead of time with you still manages to make you busy. I get it. You're in demand. You're in movies. You're in the background of films, and we just can't compete with that. And I understand. I get it. We're good.
Okay. All right. Just so we know, if you would go back to Sundays at 11, I'd be all down. Hey,
What's
Daniel,
up,
how's it
Daniel?
going, man?
Sundays at 11. I can do Sundays at 11, maybe. I don't know if the rest of the guys could do Sundays at 11. Anyway, what have you been watching? Been watching anything good?
Well, actually, I haven't watched anything recent yet. And in terms of, I guess the only thing I've been kind of watching because it's on Charge TV is I've been watching reruns of Law and Order: Criminal Intent.
That's a good show.
It is.
Most of season. No, I've watched all of season 1 now at this point. It's a pretty good show. I like it.
I didn't when it first came out. I was kind of iffy about it. I didn't watch it. I watched a few episodes, but Vincent D'Onofrio's character, Bobby Gorin, is kind of a little bit of an acquired taste. And once I kind of started to watch more episodes, I've gotten more into that character. But there is a show, a YouTube channel that I was just watching before we started recording that was presenting the top 5 TV shows that you won't remember from 1992. And so I want to flex your muscle. I know that you might say 1992, I was 8 years old, whatever. But I want to throw it out there and see if you remember a particular show.
Sure.
Do you remember a show called On the Air?
I've heard of it. I have not. I don't remember it. No.
I never watched it either. I've never even heard of it, to be honest with you. Actually, so far on this countdown, all of the shows, I'm like, I've never heard of any of these shows because they didn't last very long. They lasted 6 episodes, some of them 2 episodes, some of them 4 episodes. Well, you'll be happy to know that you have something to watch now. On the Air is brought to you by Mark Frost and David Lynch. It's about a television studio that has these weird like TV shows, kind of like UHF, if you will, and how things go awry every time they try to do a production. Does this ring a bell?
Yes, because I just watched something on that particular show. That's why the name sounded familiar. I just watched a thing on YouTube about it.
Okay.
It was right after Twin Peaks was done.
Yes, absolutely. And then Frost, who also wasn't he a producer? Mark Frost.
He was a writer on Twin Peaks.
He was a writer on Twin Peaks. Okay, all right. Well, he came along with David Lynch, and by the way, I think all the episodes are up on Vimeo, which is really weird. Like, when's the last time you watched something on Vimeo?
I don't think I've ever watched. Well, no, that's not true. When we get screeners, they're sent to us on Vimeo. Even though I've only watched a couple, but other than that, nothing.
I mean, I've watched independent films on Vimeo, but never something that, because I think on the air, I think it was on ABC, I think, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken,
I
which
think
so
so.
was Twin Peaks, so it makes perfect sense.
Mhm.
So what are you watching?
What am I watching? That's a good question. I just sat down and watched the rebooted 2 seasons of Criminal Minds, which I was a big fan of the original Criminal Minds run. And reboot's a loose term. It was only off the air, I think, 3 or 4 years. And the rebooted seasons of Criminal Minds, and you guys know I like this original Criminal Minds. It's great. It might be better than the original show because it's not a week by week case like the original show was. It is I mean, there is some smaller cases throughout, but it's mostly an overarching story for 10 episodes. And the acting is awesome. They did start using adult language on Criminal Minds also on this new series, but it's really good. I was really shocked at how good it is.
Is that on Paramount Plus?
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
I thought that I saw ads for it on Paramount Plus.
Yeah, most of the original cast is back as well.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Mhm.
Cool. I always got Criminal Minds confused with Without a Trace.
I've never seen Without a Trace.
I've always gotten those two confused for some odd reason. Why? I don't know. I guess they're kind of similar, but not really. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Well, before we get into our breakdown and review of this episode of Matlock, Jason, we have an email we want to hear.
We do have an email. Where did I do with the email? I had it all pulled up like a responsible podcaster, and I guess I closed out of the email. But this is from Liz. Liz and I have been communicating back and forth about various things. But
Okay.
she emailed back, and I thought this one would be cool to share. It said, "Random thing, but I feel like you guys might be the only people who care. I was away for a week visiting family, and I usually work through my rewatch on the DVD box set that I bought last year. But when I was having trouble sleeping in a new space, I turned on the Matlock Pluto TV and realized that the episodes are cut differently across platforms. I have a stupidly photographic memory for trivial details, and the X is missing a solid 2 minutes of subplot where Ben is jealous about Julie's ex-husband. And the episode with Nana Visitor, she's been in a couple, but it's an early episode where she definitely kills the guy. Had 20 or 30 seconds at the end of the scene where Hilbert and Sullivan tickets that I've never seen before. Makes me so curious if they were recut as airtime was reduced over the years to make room for commercials and what the original episodes were like. Are some of the inconsistencies and missing information because of that? Yes, 100%. So when a show airs on network television, it is, especially an hour show, it is roughly, especially like I think in the early 90s, between 42 minutes and 45 minutes. 45 minutes is pretty much the benchmark. When it's edited down, it usually cuts about 5 minutes off for more commercials to run in syndication. So like episodes of Friends that are 23 minutes, only 19 minutes in syndication. So yes, they definitely cut stuff to make room for more commercials.
Yeah, I was going to say that was going to be my answer as well. That yes, when they are aired on syndication, they are clipped down a little bit to make room for more TV news. In fact, I just mentioned Law and Order: Criminal Intent. You can clearly tell where there's the big ad break at the half-hour mark because it is much more. They sweep through it real quick, and then they take a longer break back towards like the 10:45 mark. And I noticed it, but I was like, well, they're fitting in the longer commercial there at 10:30, or they must have originally, and then drop it out for this particular version or edit or whatnot. So yeah, Liz, unfortunately, that's exactly what happens. I mean, you mentioned it too. I mean, probably they're using that last time on Matlock, that type of vehicle at the beginning, because you mentioned that when you were watching them on Amazon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that eats into the time where I think on the DVD. Well, I know on the DVD because I'm watching it on DVD. None of that is there. But nonetheless, Liz, thank you for sending in the email. And Jason, let's tell all the other people out there where they can get in touch with us if they would like to do so.
Guys can email us at benmattalk@gmail.com.
And you can also find us on Facebook at Mattalk Podcast is the address over there at Facebook. And with that, shall we jump on into this episode?
Hold on. I think we have a comment. Daniel's been watching through Dallas and The Sopranos. JR and Sue Ellen got married at South Fork on today's episode. I've never seen Dallas.
Yeah, you know what? I forgot about this, Daniel. I apologize a million times. A week ago, I checked out the Ewing Barbecue podcast that you had recommended. And so I checked it out. I randomly just picked an episode that sounded interesting. I think it was from season 3. And, overall, I liked it. It made me want to go back and start watching Dallas. But it's such a long show with so many seasons that it's going to be an undertaking, I think, to take that on. And by the way, if you happen to hear the ice cream truck, apparently it's time to buy some ice cream, says it's going down my street.
Can you go?
It's been
packs of candy cigarettes, please.
Well, first of all, I just want to know where the heck have they been, because it is August 11th, and this is the first time I have heard or seen this ice cream truck go down my street.
That's 8/11 at 8/11, John. Perfect timing.
All right, I'll go get you some. I'm gonna get some Fun Dip for me, and I'll get you some candy cigarettes. All right, I'll be back.
I wish I had time to rewatch TV. Like when I'm with my girlfriend, I will watch a show with her. Like we're watching The Good Wife because she really liked Elsbeth, so we're going backwards so she can kind of get caught up to the universe. Not that you need to, and but I other than that, I don't like. I want to go back and watch Orphan Black because I've been watching the reboot, and I want to go back. There's certain shows I want to go and rewatch, and there's so many shows coming out. Like I just watched Presumed Innocent on Apple TV, which is really, really good, minus the last 5 minutes. And then the last thing he said to me again on Apple TV, really, really with Jennifer Garner. It's really, really hard to go backwards when you know that all this stuff is coming out.
Well, yeah, like I said, Dallas is 14 seasons, I think. I think it's somewhere, maybe 15. It's somewhere in there. Daniel, I know. No, this does not count the reboot. No, the reboot I didn't even count. I'm talking just in the original series. I think it's 14 seasons. But yeah, I know I'm with you. In fact, one of the shows that I need to do a rewatch of, it was just announced that it's dropping on Peacock probably here in the next few days. That's Homicide: Life on the Street, ladies and gentlemen. I know my partner's excited to catch it. I would love to do a rewatch of it. I'll just tell you right now, you want a great cop drama that is severely underrated, by the way. It deserves a lot more respect on its name than some people give it. But Homicide: Life on the Street, fantastic. I highly recommend it. If you want one of those kind of, like I said, gritty, kind of deep, philosophical, hard-hitting cop shows, you need to check it out. It's great. And in fact, you could see where the character John Munch is first created, because that's the first appearance of John Munch, aka Richard Belzer, in that show, and that's where that character came from.
Yeah, so if you're a Law and Order SVU fan, you definitely should go back and watch the show, because one, there was crossovers, and secondly, some of those characters continued into those two shows. Was David Chase a writer on Homicide?
David Chase?
No, Dick Wolf. Dick Wolf, completely different. I was thinking Sopranos. Yeah, Dick Wolf.
Dick Wolf. No, Dick Wolf was not. And the executive producer was Barry Levinson, who has done a ton of like big name blockbuster movies in Hollywood. David Simon was the other producer and writer, in which this TV show is actually based on a book that David Simon wrote, called, if I'm not mistaken, Homicide: A Year on the Killing Streets. All right, we got a comment from Daniel. Go ahead and throw it on up here. I've never watched a
single episode of Homicide: Life on the Street, but it always looked similar to NYPD Blue, which I like. NYPD Blue is such a good show. I'm going to watch Homicide as soon as it drops, but I'm kind of curious, how did Dick Wolf get to use the Munch character? I wonder how that happened.
I don't know, because remember, John Munch also shows up in the X-Files spinoff. What was the
believe he showed
Xbox?
up as Munch and also Arrested Development. I think he played Munch.
He did. He played John Munch. But what was it? The Lone Gunman. The Lone Gunman. He was in that, which was a Fox property. I don't know how that worked, but yeah, John Munch has been in, I think, 7 different series.
Yeah, I think he was. Yeah, he was John Munch on The Wire as well.
Yes, because he had a small little spot in The Wire.
Yeah.
Yes,
John
I
Munch on 30 Rock. I pulled up his IMDb.
Okay.
And like 27 Law and Order shows. But yeah. Awesome. All right, John. Yeah, let's get into it.
All right, then let's go ahead and jump on into our opening statements. All right, the name of the episode is called The Man of the Year, and the original air date for it is January 29th, 1991. You've mentioned it before, Jason. It's a clip show. And I'm just going to throw it out there. Jason, what is the point of a clip show?
Show clips.
Well, thank you, Mr. Obvious. I mean, I thought that we've had another clip show before doing this podcast. But did we ever really, huh?
Every show has a clip show once a season.
I want to know why that is. Like, it just seems...
Save budget. It's a good way to, like, maybe an episode costs a little bit more, so you throw a clip show in so you can use some of the budget that would have been on that show in the clip show. That's why the usually in clip shows they're in one area, like sitting around a table reminiscing, or in Friends' case they were always in the apartment. Or I mean, this episode we had a couple different locations, so that was kind of surprising.
Yes, I agree. Well, let's talk about some guest stars, but look, many of these guest stars we've talked about. So I tried to pick and choose some more interesting ones, but by no means, if we missed one, I apologize. Let's start off with probably my favorite guest star, Claude Akins, who played the role of Sam Taylor, and that was season 3, episode 16, The Thoroughbred, where we had a mentally handicapped individual played by Don Swayze accused of murder. And we'll talk a little bit more about that episode when we get to it. But Claude Akins was also had the roles of Joe Burdett in Rio Bravo, Aldo in Battle for the Planet of the Apes, Captain Ethan Craig on Murder, She Wrote, Sheriff Lobo and BJ and the Bear, and The Misadventures of Sheriff Lobo. Steve Brand in my favorite Twilight Zone episode, The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, and a ton of other credits to his name. So, anything else to add in that, Jason?
No, because I mean we technically have probably already talked a lot about this. No, not really.
All right, well, let's talk about one that we didn't talk about, because I know this for certain because this actress showed up in the last episode. Let's talk about Marge Redman. She'll be playing the role of Mrs. McCardle. We saw her last at episode 14, season 5, The Parents. Of course, the one that we just talked about a week ago. You may also know her as Sister Jacqueline on The Flying Nun. Charlotte Gingrich in The Fortune Cookie. Several video game voiceovers for GTA 4 and Max Payne 2. And she also was Mrs. Kendall in the horror movie Hear No Evil. Jason, I've told you many times, and I have not been a good friend. You and I need to watch The Fortune Cookie because it is a damn good film starring Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, if trivia is correct in my mind, that was the first appearance of that duo of Lemmon and Matthau. It's fantastic.
I want to see that. Dude, their Odd Couple 2 is one of my favorite comedies ever. I love that movie so much.
When was that? That was what, the early 90s or late 80s?
I don't. It was either between Grumpy Old Men movies or after the 2 Grumpy Old Men movies, because they made the Grumpy Old Men movies and then Odd Couple 2 somewhere in there, and then Out to Sea I think was the 4th one they made in the 90s together. Okay. Dude, every movie those guys touched was hilarious. But she was also in Columbo and Perry Mason. She died in 2020, rest in peace. But she also did voiceover work in 2 video games I would not have expected her to be a part of, which was Grand Theft Auto 4 and Max Payne 2.
Yeah. I was shocked by that too. That's why I had to jot that down. She was not on Murder, She Wrote, though, so she doesn't get the
No.
hat trick. Columbo,
83
yes.
years old doing a voice in Grand Theft Auto 4. I couldn't picture my mom. Not my mom. My mom's not 84. Good freaking Lord. I couldn't imagine my grandmother doing a voice in Grand Theft Auto. This is offensive. Like, that's what I would get.
Hey, you know what? She probably played like a little old lady that you try to help across the street and not get shot by one of the bad guys. Like, I bet that's what her role was. I'm just saying. But I agree with you. If it was, look, my mom is 80, and she would be like, I am not saying this filth. This is disgusting. So apparently we have another comment. Let's go ahead here. Grumpy young men.
That's John and I, grumpy young men.
That is very true. Very true. All right, let's talk about our last guest star, June Chadwick. She, of course, played the role of Patricia Taylor from The Thoroughbred, which, again, is, of course, Season 3, Episode 16. But you may also know her as Janine Petticoat in This Is Spinal Tap, Jillian in Jumpin' Jack Flash, Lydia in the TV series V, Lieutenant Parisi in the show Riptide, and she played English flight attendant on Magnum PI, the original. And again, love what role am I playing? English flight attendant. So, Jason, anything else you want to add in there for Miss Chadwick?
I do have, well, not for Miss Chadwick, but I do have one. Deputy Terwilliger, Glenn Morshower. He played Aaron Pierce on 24, which is one of my favorite shows. He was also an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Law and Order SVU, very well-known actor. I didn't even recognize him in the episode.
Yeah, because he looks a lot younger, I think, than what we have seen photo-wise. So, okay. Yeah. That's
I like that guy a lot. I can't remember if his character died on 20, probably. He was also in Buffy. I didn't know that either. All right, John. Yep, that's it for me.
Okay. All right. Well, then, with that being said, I have a question to ask you. Are you ready to give an opinion? Your opinion and solely your opinion. So help you.
Let's testify!
Let's testify! I feel like doing the Charlie Chaplin thing.
It's nice that Daniel fit us into his schedule this week.
No, are you being mean to Daniel?
No, I'm happy to see Daniel here. It's a while since he's been in the chat.
Yes, yeah, wasn't more shower in like
seasons 24.
Okay. All right. I gave up on 24, I think, season 3.
What? Season 4 is like the best season too, and 5.
Yeah.
4 and 5 were the best seasons.
3 I did not. I quit because
3 was rough. 3 was rough, but 4 and 5 were great.
Yeah, 3. It was when, what was the daughter's name when she ended up working at CTU?
Yeah, she left the show after 3. Other than like maybe one episode here and there throughout the rest of the seasons.
Yeah, like I was like, she was such a dummy. She was such a moron, but now all of a sudden she's working at CTU.
But they couldn't figure out what to do with the actress, John.
Whatever happened to Alicia Cuthbert, I wonder.
She was in a show called Happy Endings that did pretty well. And then she was in The Ranch on Netflix that did also pretty well with Sam Elliott and Ashton Kutcher.
Okay. All right. She's, I think, still married to NHL All-Star Dion Phaneuf, but I'm not sure about that.
I love her.
That wasn't creepy at all.
I'm happily dating somebody. I'm just saying I love watching her and things. She's great.
I think she's Canadian.
Is she? Maybe I can get her on the show.
You can get her on the show. Which, hey, wait, side note, we should explain that one. We discovered last night during the 10th anniversary edition of Three Geeks Podcast that a lot of Canadian actors and actresses have appeared on the Three Geeks. Like, I counted today. I think you have 8 or 9 Canadian actors or actresses that have come on the show.
You're not saying it right. They're also our most like reoccurring people that come on our show. Like we've had more actors we've had more non-Canadian actors on our show, but out of the people that keep coming back, yes, we've had.
You know why you keep bringing them back? Because they're so nice. They're Canadian.
Yeah.
I mean, unlike some of these rude Americans.
Yeah.
The cast is moving north. That's right.
Right,
Head on up to Manitoba.
Let's get this podcast a boot. Let's go.
Okay. All right. Our opening scene for this episode. Oh, I forgot to talk about the plot real quick because I was so enthralled with talking about your Canadian guests. But Ben is late to an award ceremony in which he is given the Man of the Year award. And during the time in which he's arriving or heading that way to arrive at the banquet, other people share their stories. And so our first opening scene is nothing more than some footage of an old ticker tape parade. And then we cut to a scene where Ben is leaving in a hurry. He runs out the door, he gets in the car, puts the key in the ignition, and chug, 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 chug. Nothing's going to happen. Chug, 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 chug. Nothing's going to happen. And so Mrs. McCardle is leaving the house as well. And so Ben goes over and goes, "Excuse me, Mrs. McCardle, I need a lift to this banquet where I'm being honored." And she's like, "Sure, I think we can do that, but we got to stop and see my uncle." And they broker a deal. Ben will just ride in the passenger seat. They'll go first to the banquet, and then they'll go see her sick uncle. So at the banquet hall, Julie and Michelle arrive. And guess who's the MC for this event? None other than shock jock, scumbag, moronic Arthur Saxon.
But first off, I don't like Arthur Saxon, but I want to go back real quick because Ben is making demands for a guy who somebody's doing him a favor. He's making demands like, "No, you're going to save all the things that you had planned to do today, and you're going to drive me to where I need to go." Didn't they have taxis back then?
I don't know, but good point. I never thought about that, but he is being a little bit of a jerk. Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay.
You drive me. I want my award. Like, let's go. This is my Oscar.
This is important, okay? Well, Arthur arrives. He hasn't changed a bit, dude. He tries to get handsy and kissy with Michelle. He tries to get handsy and kissy with Julie. This man knows no bounds. He cannot be stopped, can he?
No.
Anyways, he claims that he's the only person that's available that has any type of clout or whatnot. So there is a scene of hundreds of people in attendance, but Ben is not there. And Conrad is like, "Hey, it's not like Ben to be this late. He knows it's important. He should be here." I wrote down, "Has anyone called Ben?" But my snarkiness will be actually refuted here in a few moments on that. So Arthur says he's just going to start without him, and he refers to Ben as a geezer. Let me just explain something to you, Arthur. You, my friend, wish you were a geezer because Ben Matlock has more hair on his head than you do, my friend. Mic drop. Jason, I think you're muted right now, sir.
Oh, my bad. Arthur Saxon reminds me of like all the like generic shock jocks that used to be on in the 90s that just didn't get like why some shock jocks were funny and why some weren't. It just tried too hard.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy plays it very well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So then we cut to a scene of a country road where Ben and McCardle stop because they're lost. They have no idea where they are. They're at some small little town in Georgia. And lo and behold, they also happen to have a flat tire as well. Oh, what are they going to do?
Have Conrad or Michelle pick him up?
Great idea. Well, that's a great idea. That would have probably killed this episode, though, because we got to fit in all the hijinks and then, in the clips. But no, you got a valid point. Like, I wouldn't. first of all, McCarty drives you crazy, right? So if I was like, I can't stand that person, I would try to look for somebody else first. And that's a very good point. Probably Michelle or Conrad could have done what needed to be done. But nonetheless, a random guy stops by and says, I will fix your tire, sir and ma'am. This is going to be probably the second instance, excuse me, of what is going to be pretty obvious what's going to happen. Like, I knew something was going to happen with the car when they turned on the dirt road and they said they were lost. I knew that this individual is not quite what he claims to be. But nonetheless, Conrad does call Ben's house. Nobody answers. And then Arthur decides to do an incredibly gross and slimy monologue. He certainly doesn't have a clue. And so Michelle decides to entertain the crowd with a story about Ben Matlock. Now, so far, Jason, what do you think about the episode so far?
It's fine. For a clip show, it's fine.
I gotta say, I agree with you. I think as of right now, we're got a pretty solid episode. There hasn't been too many clips yet. Okay, that I will give credit to this episode. They didn't bombard us with clip after clip after clip without any type of setup. So I like this. We got a comment from Daniel again. Mother lover acts like he's forgotten about True. Very, very true. All right, so we're going to go to the first clip, and it is from the episode of The Thoroughbred. We get a little bit of the murder scene. We get the arrest of, if I remember correctly, Tommy. I know we talked about this, but I know it was a different era. But when Claude Akins uses the R word to describe Tommy, I cringed a little bit again. I'm like, no. We also get some of Ben's investigation. We get Tommy running off. And then one of my favorite, I got to say, this is, if we're writing a top 10 list of scenes for this show, this is on my top 10 list. The one where the two rednecks are going to attack Tommy, and Tyler walks in and says, "You gentlemen have just apprehended a dangerous individual." Like, that line of horse crap, that line of malarkey was epic. It was awesome. I'm just throwing it out there, Jason. Do you agree or disagree with me?
Yeah, I definitely remembered how much I love Tyler Hudson.
Oh, and then how can we forget that the clip ends with Ben doing what? Bringing a horse into the courtroom.
Because that's what you do. If I ever became a lawyer, I would hope that at least one time in my life I'd get to bring a horse into the courtroom.
Okay, let's talk about this. From The Thoroughbred, would you rather bring a horse into the courtroom or a chopper like in The Biker? Which one would you pick? Wow, you got incredibly close up there for a moment. What did you do with your camera?
Oh, I got some digital static, so I changed the camera up. What did you say, John?
Okay, I said, which would you prefer to have in your courtroom if you're a judge? The horse from The Thoroughbred or the chopper motorcycle from The Biker?
Why can't I do both? It's my courtroom, answer. John.
Excellent answer. Bravo, sir. Bravo.
I mean, come on, buddy. I mean, what are we doing here? What are we even doing here if we can't do both?
That's right. Go big or go home, right?
Right. I didn't even bring a car into the courtroom.
No. Remember that episode we took the courtroom outside to the dealership and did that. Yeah.
Yeah, but see, I'm gonna one up Matlock and bring the car into the courtroom. That's right. Get it through the metal detector. That'd be fun. I mean, I guess in theory you could get a motorcycle through the metal detectors.
Well, because you'd have to take it apart. You like bring the front end in, and then the cab, and then the trunk. You could bring it in 3 pieces, reassemble it. There you go.
Did I lose John, or did John lose me? I think
I lost
John.
I lost you.
Oh, there we go.
You got me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I lost you.
I just avoid questions, John.
Okay. Jay froze. Justin calls it. You were the one that froze. Okay, so what did you hear? Did you hear what I said? Well, you said both, and I congratulated you.
Yeah, I heard all that.
Okay, all right, okay. All right, well, let's get back to the episode here as Michelle, if Michelle wraps up her speech, and then we cut to the scene where the rando guy fixes the flat tire. By the way, let's talk about it. Mrs. McCardle has a pretty sweet ride. She has that retro early 90s Ford Tempo. Did you have a Ford Tempo?
I did not have a Ford Tempo, John.
Justin, did you have a Ford Tempo as a kid? I'll let you know what he says, because I had a buddy that had a Ford Tempo, so I have a soft spot for the old Ford Tempo. All right. Anyways,
I had a bring back Corsica, and those were bad. As in great.
Justin said Honda Civic. My dad had a Ford Escort. Okay, well that counts. Ford Escort. All right. Was it the souped up like sport edition one, Justin, or was it just a regular Ford Escort? That sucker had every color coming out, and it was the hatchback. Oh, that was awesome. Thanks, Justin. All right. Anyways, so the random guy fixes the flat tire, and then he robs Ben and Mrs. McCardle, which again, I knew this was going to happen. I mean, you knew he was shady of some sort, and he steals the Ford Tempo. Okay, Julie is up next to share her story. And again, like I wrote this down now, like why is Arthur the MC? Because it really doesn't make any sense. As Daniel pointed out, he doesn't remember and doesn't share anything about Ben just yet. All right. And like you couldn't find somebody else. Like Ace Calhoun would have been better to be the MC on this. You know what I mean? Or anyone they could bring back. What about the female private investigator from season 3, I think, or 4? Remember her? She had the little kid. Like she could have been the MC. It just seems like they shoehorned in. Oh, the most irritating person we have is Arthur Saxon, so we'll shoehorn him.
Well, he might be the most famous of Ben's clients, which is probably why they brought him in.
Well, that's what they claim, but I'm like, I don't know.
That makes sense. Like, is this thing televised? Maybe it's televised.
Maybe. I don't know. All right. Well, we get a scene from the X. And the X, of course, is, I believe, from season 3. It is the one where you have a newspaper executive that is killed by a reader of the newspaper who claims he was smited. And the big thing is that the prosecutor is Julie's ex-husband. And this we get a little bit of tough guy Ben. And again, if we're talking about that top 10 list, Ben going over there and go, "You've rattled this woman. And if you try this on me, I'm going to turn this table over on you." I mean, it was very menacing. I dig that scene. I thought that was top stuff. But we also get a little bit of the tape, a little bit on the taping of the meeting and the mail chute being used for an alibi, which was all kind of in that episode. All right. Let's talk about Ben and Mrs. McCardle. They're walking and complaining. We get whiny Ben, and they see a shack, and they approach. And what do you know, Jason? Again, another very predictable plot point. The door is kind of ajar. Ben bangs his shoulder against it, opens up, and there they go. They go into the shack, and they attempt to use the phone, only to find out that an old lady toting a shotgun confronts them.
She's not happy.
Oh, she is not happy at all. Oh, no. So Conrad answers the phone because Ben ended up calling the hotel where the banquet was, and he left some information. And so Conrad is summoned to the phone. He goes, he answers it. There's nobody there. So he knows something is going to be wrong. So he heads back to the banquet hall, relays the information to Michelle and Julie, and he's off to head north to try to rescue Ben. In the same scene, by the way, Julie, she ends up confronting Arthur about his geezer comments. And I don't know about you, but I think if I was Arthur Saxon, I watch my P's and Q's with Julie March because she looks like the type that would kick you in the unmentionables. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, she would. Absolutely. Might do more.
Well, I'm just saying. I think she'd start with that. She'd kick you in the balls, and then yeah, maybe a slap would follow. Yeah, you might think she's a weakling, but I have a feeling Julie March is one tough hombre, so to speak. Or
she is. Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Ben and McCardle are handed over to the police, and they're labeled as transients. Meanwhile, back at the banquet hall, Arthur shares his story of meeting Ben. And we talk about the murder. We talked about that Michelle dated him, Arthur's antics in the courtroom, and then the way in which Deidre, the killer, used a Southern accent, and that's how it was found out she was on the relief tape, and all that stuff, you know, coming together. So we go back to the small town in Georgia where Ben and McCardle are fingerprinted. Ben calls Bob Brooks, but guess what? Bob Brooks isn't in because he's at the banquet that you're supposed to be at.
Yeah, everybody's at the banquet Ben's supposed to be at, except for Ben.
Except for Ben. and Ace Calhoun. I didn't see him in there.
No, they can't afford him for this episode. Remember, they're trying to save money.
You're saying, wait a minute, you're saying Don Knotts is the reason why there was a shortage on the fundage for this episode?
No, I'm saying that I'm sure Don Knotts asked for probably a little bit more than a normal guest star would, I would think.
Okay.
I think he always gets a special guest star, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'd probably be. I could just picture him trying to be like, you know, a tough negotiator. Well,
yeah, and they got both. They got both, you know, Julie and Conrad, or Michelle and Conrad in this episode. So they can't afford more.
Ben, I think that I deserve more money. That's my Ace Calhoun impression.
Hey, getting good. I bought a Don Knotts movie collection. I'm finally going to dive into some of his movies.
Whoa, wait, time out. Whoa, hold on. We're going to put this on hold. You didn't tell me that in the pre-production meeting or even when I asked what you're watching.
I haven't watched it yet. That's why
Well, what are these movies?
Apple Dumpling Gang and Apple Dumpling Gang Returns. I don't remember what the other two are.
Oh, I remember watching those two movies when I was a kid. And I mean like 6-7 years old. Maybe even younger.
I didn't know they had TV in the 1940s.
Okay, anyways. Wait a minute, time out. You got called out real quickly, ladies and gentlemen. Our producer Justin just said Jason can't rewatch TV shows. Also, Jason bought a Don Knotts collection.
That's because back to what I was saying. I wasn't saying I need to watch is just coming out. There's like so much stuff that I haven't seen. Why would I keep going back to things I have seen? That is what I meant by that statement earlier. I haven't seen any of the Don Knotts movies, so it fits.
I don't know. I can't tell you anything about the Apple Dumpling Gang. I do remember watching it. In fact, I think I vaguely remember I watched it on my aunt's. I didn't watch it on video cassette. I watched it on HBO. I think it was on HBO. My mom let me go over there to watch it. But anyways, all right, let's get back to Ben and Mrs. McCardle getting fingerprinted. And basically, Conrad is on his way in the next scene to save Ben and McCardle. He's driving, and all of a sudden, the red Ford Tempo goes the other way. So he stops, turns around the Mustang, takes off, and runs down the Tempo. By the way, there under no circumstances should have been a large lead for the Tempo, because I am absolutely certain that 65 Mustang could have run down just about any passenger sedan in the early 90s. But basically, they both get run off the road because they're neck and neck, and a truck is coming the other way. So both cars split off and crash.
And of course, the black man gets arrested for the crime. Poor Conrad. And can we get some justice for Clarence Gilliard? I love that guy. Sorry.
Well, you jumped ahead a little bit because we got to get there of how he's arrested. But Conrad ends up kind of in a tussle with the robber, and he gets KO'd. All right. So the deputy finds the Ford Tempo, the wallet, and the purse, and they have also identified the robber. And the deputy brings in Conrad, and it's a big giant case of mistaken identity, if you will.
Of course it is. But we got a bunch of comments, John.
Okay.
Dustin, go ahead and throw them up. I think we got 4, maybe 3. Daniel says, can't beat a great Michelle Stafford episode. 100%.
Absolutely.
I love it when she's a guest star. The Ghost and Mr. Chicken and How to Firm a Fig are classics. Those are the 2 that aren't on this DVD.
Are those Don Knotts movies? Because I'm just assuming that's okay.
They are.
All right.
What's up, Troy? Again,
hey,
guys,
Troy.
go check out my conversation with Troy on the 3 Geeks podcast channel, and go check out Troy Hill Talks. Love that guy. He does some
Thanks
great
for checking
movie
out.
reviews. And what's up, Brian?
Brian Lau, what's happening?
The best, Brian. I don't know about the best. So far, Matlock, I'm unimpressed, but I'm going to go back and watch some of his other stuff.
All right, let's get back to this episode. And at the banquet, Arthur recants a tryst that Michelle and him had in Ben's office, and that makes Michelle dump a giant pitcher of water all over him. And I like how it doesn't even faze him. And again, dude, look, I don't know. Maybe I'm a prude. I don't know. I don't think I am, but like, don't be telling a room full of strangers about you playing tonsil hockey with Michelle. Okay? It's just not cool, man. It's not cool, you scumbag.
No.
All right. I think we got another comment. Pop it up, if you will, Justin, please.
Troy, I heard black guy, so now I'm here. I was hoping, man. That's why I threw up the bat signal. What's up, Brian? How you doing, buddy? I already said hi to you, Brian.
Best. But
I don't know about the best, but I've never seen the Andy Griffith show. So, like, all my Don Knotts experience is really this and some episodes of Three's Company. And he was all right on Three's Company.
All right. So let's get back to the episode. The sheriff brokers a deal. Look, Ben, you pay some money to fix the old lady's door. She'll drop charges. All right. And you can all leave. So I like how Ben goes, pay him, Conrad. Conrad's like, wait, why do I got to pay him? You're the only one with money. And funny, the amount of money that Conrad has is $93, not $100. What?
Why did Conrad suddenly start sounding like Don Knotts?
What do you mean?
Your like Conrad voice sounded like Don Knotts.
Okay. Don Knotts is an American treasure. Thank you, Troy.
All right, Troy, I'm going to find out. I'm going to go watch some of his movies, and we'll see. But in Matlock, so far, he's had like one episode where I've been like, it's funny. But we'll see. We'll see.
This will be also known as the episode where Don Knotts' worth is being argued here, whether he has the comedy chops that everybody thinks he does.
I'm sure he does. I'm just saying on Matlock so far, and you haven't been impressed either, John. So
no, I have not. But I do know that if you find Don Knotts and the character of Ace Calhoun to be annoying, you ain't seen nothing yet till we get to Billy Lewis. That's a character that's annoying. But I digress. All right, so basically $93 will get them out of the police station, if you will. But they have no way to get home because the cars are all busted up. The Tempos broke down. The Mustangs broke down. So Ben, Conrad, and Miss McCardle hitch a ride in a truck. It's carrying hay and chickens. And they arrive at the venue. Ben and Conrad rush to the banquet hall, but they're late. And everything is being gathered up. Vacuums being run. And then Ben starts, well, a funny thing happened to me on the way here, and that is the episode, The Man of the Year. Now, I do have a quick question. What happened to Michelle and Julie? Like, where did they go? So they're clearly not here. They weren't waiting around anywhere, like, outside the venue or in the lobby or anything. So where are they? That is a question that I would like to know.
I mean,
Do you have a theory?
How long are you gonna wait for your friend to show up, John?
Well, I mean, it depends. If my friend is like clockwork and very punctual, and if they've been missing all day for a very prestigious award, say like a trophy for Remake Revolution, um, yeah, I think I would stick around a little bit longer and try to make sure that they are safe, unless you're an uncaring friend. Anyways,
Yeah. I mean, we got another comment from Brian. And
all right.
Brian, you said he was the best. So in using the term the best, that means he's awesome in everything because he is the best. And I'm just saying he's not so awesome in Matlock. So maybe he's the best on the Andy Griffith show, just not in Matlock.
There you go.
I'm trolling. I'm totally trolling.
All right. Well, let's stop the trolling and let's see. Is there anything else we need to cover real quick before we go to our closing statement?
We covered Don Knotts. Nope, we're good. He's not even in this episode. We've talked about Don Knotts more than we've talked about a character. Now let's get into our closing statements. This is the part of the podcast where John and I will rate the show on a gavel system. 1 gavel means we did not like it. 5 gavels means we absolutely love it. Negative 20 gavels means John and I are traveling to Canada and we are going to play clips in the car on the way there. John, how do you rate this episode?
Clips.
Yeah, we're going to play random clips for each other. We're going to have a clip show, just the two of us.
Okay. All right. All right. I gave this 4 gavels. I thought that they picked very good clips to use. I mean, exciting, memorable clips to use. I will say this. I found Mrs. McCardle to be an absolute drag last episode. Her introduction, her debut to the Matlock universe. Oh, God. Terrible. Awful. I think it was better this time around. I think the comedy and the, just their interaction, I think was really, really good. And less annoying. I liked, as you said, we have a different plot, a little bit of a different setting. The negatives, a little bit predictable. Again, I didn't like Arthur Saxon as being the MC. And, for a clip show, at least they kind of, again, didn't give us a bunch of clips and just randomly in any random order. The plot seemed to kind of stitch everything together pretty well. So I give it 4 gavels. What say you?
I give it a 3. A 3. I can't in good conscience give a clip show more than 3 gavels. 3.5 gavels, because while most of it was previous footage, one of the negatives for this, why did we need to have a clip show? Because you didn't stay in one location. Like, there's stuff happening everywhere, and none of the cast, most of the side cast is in this episode more than they've been in any show this season so far, maybe combined. And even Andy Griffith isn't clocked out of this episode. In the last clip show, I don't think Andy Griffith was in it for more than a couple seconds. So that clip show made sense. Andy wanted a break. They were in one location, so on and so forth. So yeah, I mean, 3.5, somewhere in between there, because it's a clip show. I understand why you're doing it. You're doing it to save money somewhere else in the season. It just doesn't make sense to me because we're everywhere.
Well, and I think also too, there's something that has been mentioned before on our show is that there were some health issues with Andy Griffith. So maybe again this is another clip show because Andy's not feeling really good. So let's just shoot a minimum amount of footage, give him the rest of the day off, give everybody else the rest of the day off after we shoot their stuff. That would make the most sense if he was having again some health issues, because I remember that if I'm not mistaken, he had some leg issues. So, but hey, not every single one of them can be, 5 gavels, but
that doesn't work either because he's moving around in this episode a lot.
Well, I mean, he toughed it up, just like an Olympic athlete that's got that nagging injury. They still run that race or whatever.
He could have just toughed it up in the courtroom. Come on, Andy. Let's get there. No, but the episode was fine. I didn't hate it. And the lady doesn't bother me like she bothers you. Even in the last episode, I thought she was fine.
No, she was annoying. Anyways,
If
All
you guys
right,
know
well,
any housekeepers you could recommend for John that are very similar to the lady in this episode, you guys can email us at benmattalk@gmail.com.
you know what? Funny you mentioned that. That's a private conversation that we should have about house cleaning, because I might be in the need of a house cleaner. Anyways, a maid, if you will. More on that later. Anyways, let's
I
talk
will
about
not wear the outfit, John, but I will come over and clean your house.
Okay, good. Will you give me a good rate?
Maybe.
Okay. All right. I get the buddy rate. Anyways, let's talk about our respective podcasts. Jason, tell us all about the Three Geeks podcast.
We celebrated 10 years yesterday in what turned out to be a very emotional episode in like last 15 minutes. Definitely, guys, go back and watch that, listen to it on all places you find podcasts. A lot of our old friends and friends that we've made, friends and other fellow podcasters sent in some messages, some celebrities. Definitely go check that out. It was a lot of fun to do. We had one of the old geeks pop in and say hi, and it was just a good time.
I second that because it's fantastic. It really is. And I did send in a video because I was, again, not available. And I will frequently, absolutely, not frequently, I will absolutely tell the truth that I was trying to make you two cry. I was like, I'm going to make Justin, Jason, and Max cry. I'm going to try to keep it serious.
Dude, how well did I kill those transitions into clips, though? Like, it was fantastic.
You did a great job. It's a great episode. That's why everybody needs to check it out.
Yeah, he's just happy because he was my number 3. He would have been my number 1 had he not canceled on us.
Thanks, Brian. I'll speak for. I know there's that as much as John gets onto Jay's about to say, he didn't catch me commenting again. You got one past me. What can I say? Anyways, talking about the PVD cast, available at pvdcast.com and wherever you find great podcasts. Myself and the Pro Wrestling Pundits sit down to review and recap what happened at WWE SummerSlam, what happened the following night at Raw. Like, we give our thoughts on the matches from SummerSlam, where some of these storylines are going. We even take a look at the predictions we made as to who would win and who would lose and those matches on the PLE. So it's a great episode. It's a fun episode. Got lots more coming your way as I've been very busy cranking out episodes, in plenty in the can or in reserve, whatever you want to say. So, again, pvdcast.com or wherever you find great podcasts. So, all right, Jason, anything else?
No, man, let's get out of here.
All right. And as they say in court, nothing further.